Okay, Uncle Mark, here's the thing.
Yep, here I am.
As you know, you and I grew up as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Otherwise known as the Mormons.
The Mormons. We are also, you and I, both fellers that love the entertainment.
Yeah, and we both, as it happens, work in the entertainment field.
Yes, indeed, we do.
And not always on this show, I'm sorry to say, but
No.
we're going to try to improve that.
We actually go well beyond this show, though we won't tell you guys about it because frankly, it's too good for you.
Yeah, it's none of your business, actually.
Here's the thing. Growing up LDS,
Yep.
we were admonished to avoid the bad entertainments out there.
Small point of order, it's pronounced admonished.
Admonished.
Yeah, we were admonished to avoid the appearance of evil.
It's so true. And that included
Cinema.
not all cinema.
No.
We could watch many a film,
Yeah.
but if it had one letter in front of it,
Yes.
we were never to watch it.
Was that letter R?
It was that.
So, yeah, this week we decided that we wanted to take a stab at largely how to R-rated movie.
Yeah, because we're not the only ones. There's a lot of evangelicals out there who were only supposed to watch wholesome, good films.
Yeah, well, this all kind of popped into my head the other day when a very good friend of the show on Twitter, our friend Tori Glass, who's ex-evangelical, asked the Twitterverse for a bunch of 80s music that she might try to enjoy because it was totally forbidden from her.
Huh.
So the popular music of the 80s, your Thompson Twins, your Wang Chungs,
Your flock of seagulls.
your Flock of Seagulls, all those big-haired synth pop, which now listening to, I kind of hated the era when I was alive during it. Now listening to it again, I'm like, it's really kind of awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome.
There's a lot of awesomeness. So I thought, we kind of did a how-to Sunday.
Yeah.
Where we talked about, taking back a day that was kind of taken from you.
Take back the day.
And so I thought we could talk a little bit about what it means, like why it's important culturally to even know what's going on the other side of that R.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah. Well, and maybe we should talk a little bit about the rating system itself.
Absolutely.
And the Motion Picture Association of America.
that was as in our it wasn't something we even knew you could question.
Yeah.
It was
it seemed like it was handed down from the Lord God himself, these ratings.
It was like the government,
Right. Yeah.
the army.
Yeah, exactly.
Your bishop. This was an authority.
This was every bit as authoritative as law.
Right.
It felt like law.
And you thought it knew what the fuck it was doing.
Right.
So we can talk about the MPAA just a little bit. Which,
Yeah.
So the Motion Picture Association of America invented. It was the MPAA already existed in 1966.
Sure.
And Jack Valenti, who's the president of it at the time and remained so until just recently, basically, invented the rating system as a way to stop straight up government censorship of movies.
Right.
So the government would literally cut scenes out of movies before they could air. So the artists were all furious about it.
Right.
So
there was this mass move to censor things, and at the same time, in the 60s and 70s, there was a mass movement to like do crazy shit on film.
Oh yeah, and there was some seriously crazy shit going on in film. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of the films that were pushing those boundaries were doing it just to piss off the censors.
Right.
So it started. So the rating system started as an earnest attempt to allow artists to make the films they wanted to make.
Right.
And self-govern.
And like assure the government, don't worry, no child is going to walk in on something horrific or whatever.
Right. So that has since morphed into a very nanny state sort of thing, where
On the part of the MPAA.
on the part of the MPAA,
Right.
that tends to be it's an anonymous board. You don't know who's on it.
Right.
But research, we can talk about the research a bit, has shown that they're very conservative people.
They're idiots.
Well, they're also idiots that don't know anything about film.
Right. And it's and we're not talking about a panel of 4,000 people who are coming together.
It's a few.
It's like 8.
Yeah.
There's like 8 people who, and they don't have any real guidelines.
No.
They don't have any,
One of them must always be a Catholic priest.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
And there's no rule about like this many fucks and that many shits equals R and this many,
Totally subjective.
they just go, I don't know, PG.
Totally subjective.
That's
and they're not,
all it is.
They're not filmmakers. They're not like child psychologists. They're not. So there is an amazing documentary about this called "This Film Is Not Yet Rated,"
And you should watch it. It's
totally watch it.
super eye opening, and like it will make you. You'll lose your faith in humanity for a second, and then you'll realize that it's just
It's the same as watching The Killing Fields.
Yeah.
You're going to the despair you will feel at the end of this. Actually, it's a rather hilarious documentary.
It's delightful.
But it just proves that this thing that we all grew up under, that our religious parents generally took as gospel, is completely arbitrary, and it's weighted entirely towards prohibiting sexual expressions of sexuality, and almost laissez-faire towards expressions of violence.
Shockingly so, and that reflects, I think, American society. Now we have a lot of international listeners who probably see this, but let me just be clear to you that for instance, I remember this so distinctly. I went many years ago when the movie Watchmen came out. Do you remember the movie The Watchmen?
Yep.
A superhero movie, rated R.
I didn't think it was great, but
I had fun with it.
Yeah.
But it's got a little bit of sex. It's got a lot of very graphic violence.
a very naked blue dick in a lot of it.
Yes, indeed. And here's the thing. A family walked in front of me with a bunch of kids. One couldn't have been over 8.
Yeah.
Just a kid, a little kid. And his fucking mother covered his eyes during the sex scene. And let me tell you something. The sex scene that came up, she didn't cover his eyes for the whole blue dick thing, but during there is a passionate love scene, and it's just love.
Yeah.
It's not, there's maybe some boobs, I don't remember.
But that was too much.
She covers his eyes for that. Did she cover his eyes for a cleaver going into someone's head? No.
Isn't that weird?
And that is the fucked upness from whence, the societal fucked upness from whence these motion picture ratings come.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And again, our society is reflected in our art somehow, and I think there you totally see it. So anyway, that's the rating system. It's totally arbitrary. Nobody should give a shit about it.
Right.
But let's talk a little bit about, why does it matter? Why does it matter unless you live in the Amish sphere?
Yeah.
If you want to live in 21st century America, it's not going to hurt you to know who Jerry and Kramer and Elaine are. It's not going to hurt you to know, to have seen some Woody Allen films. Art is complicated. We know Woody Allen's a fucking monster. But
that's in question.
That's in question.
That is in question.
Is it?
Yeah. Have you read the thing that his son wrote?
No.
Fascinating.
Really?
Yeah, you should read that.
The thing Ronan wrote.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, Ronan Farrow?
Is that his name? I don't know.
That's also in question because
everything's in question.
He looks like Frank Sinatra.
All I'm saying is it's all in question.
All right. So, point taken. So, why does it matter? And I think it matters because if you want to be an adult, film is a huge part of culture. Right. And it has been since the silent days. So again, if you want to
back before humans talked,
right, and they never blinked, their giant eyeballs. But if you want to live in the world and understand conversations that are happening around you, this is an enormous part of how we express our culture. It's the kind of the art of the people. And so, movies like Citizen Kane and Jaws and Star Wars and Jurassic Park and Titanic are all kind of moments in the culture.
They're touchstones, cultural touchstones that we all like. That you're going to be missing out on some stuff if you don't catch that, if you're not with it.
And like our friend Tori, who didn't get 80s music, seeing R-rated films or seeing films with adult content that many of us were prevented from seeing is part of growing up.
But but there are people who, even in their adulthood, as they leave their religion, have so internalized these ideas of evil,
Yeah.
or of that this will somehow corrupt you to watch these images, to watch these stories,
Right.
that maybe we need to talk about. So that's why we're talking about this. Let's get you through it. Let's get into it.
Right.
Let's get into some R-rated movies.
Right. And again, just to finish my point, the so oftentimes growing up in a very conservative religious situation is freezing you in space, freezing you in time. And we talked about the Amish kind of infantilizing their children. They're not the only ones. It happened to us as Mormons. We were taught to be afraid of everything and only receive knowledge that was acceptable from directly above.
Only happy messaging.
So let's talk about, I thought this would be a fun exercise to talk about movies, R-rated movies that have a significance to us, whether they did as young people or now, or So we each picked a couple movies. So Dan, why don't you start with
Okay.
a movie that is significant to you?
I'm going to start with the first R-rated movie I ever saw.
Oh man, in the theaters?
Nope.
Okay,
It was,
I can't guess what it is.
it was at a friend's house,
Yeah.
and it was, and my friend's mom had to call my mom and ask if I had permission to see this movie,
Oh my God, what was it?
Alien.
Oh, dude, that's a great one.
And
Did
I
it rock
was
your world?
scared shitless.
Yeah.
The movie was scary, and I had not really been exposed to too many scary movies, and the ones that I had been exposed to, I was terrified of, even the bad ones.
The shitty, yeah.
It didn't matter.
The Ghost and Mr. Chicken.
To this day, well, the first one was when I was a kid. Do you remember Watcher in the Woods?
Vaguely.
I skipped it.
Yeah.
The whole school was watching it. I was too scared to watch it.
Yeah. Too scary.
I'm not a big, and to this day, I actually like suspense thrillers, but I do not like jump scares. I hate being startled.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think that's the main thing. What I've come to is
it's the bladder control issue, though, isn't it?
well,
It's mostly the peeing.
it's warm to start, but then it gets annoying.
Then you just have to manage it as an adult. It's no good.
So anyway,
That's Alien's a great first R-rated movie.
That was my first R-rated movie. I remember very little of it. I'm pretty sure I watched it from behind my 10 fingers.
Have you watched it since then?
No,
Are you serious?
I haven't seen it.
That's amazing.
So there you go. My first R-rated movie. I was scared shitless, but there was also the added fear of I think I'm doing something wrong.
But you got permission.
But I got my parents were pretty liberal.
So, and that touches on something that I think is important in the cultural, in the growing, like literally growing up, being a young person going through adolescence.
Yeah. Being
Scared is fun. And if you can find a way to do it where you don't just completely shit your pants like you probably did with Aliens,
right.
It's a fun thing to do with friends.
People love it. Not everybody though, and that's part of our thing. Is that as you're dipping your toes into these worlds, learn what it is that you love and you don't have to do all the things.
Exactly. So I want to talk about. I don't know. I don't remember the first time I saw this. I don't think I started. So let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Yeah.
I was such a sheltered, little white Mormon biatch that I worked on a horror movie before I saw a horror movie.
Yeah. That's adorable.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Now I was still a young man when I worked on the horror movie, but I literally had never seen a horror movie. I had to leave if there was an advertisement on television for a horror movie. I had to leave the room.
Oh.
So there was this shitty little monster movie called It. Do you remember It?
Of course, It.
And it was the advertisement was just a little baby bassinet with a little claw, like this crazy claw.
Oh, yeah.
Had to leave the room. I had to get up and run out of the room. So that's how.
This wasn't, you weren't expelled from the room by your parents. You were just too scared.
Too scared to even see a commercial.
Right.
So that's the tender boy I was. So, anyway, I started trying to catch up in my 20s because I was working in the film business and I wanted to get on the other side of that R and see what was out there. And oh my God, one of the first ones I watched was 1968's Rosemary's Baby.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
Nice.
it is now written and directed by Roman Polanski. Again, art's complicated, but it is. I watch it probably once a year. I probably rewatch it around
Yeah?
Halloween because it's just atmospherically it's so terrific. You know,
Sure.
it's a young woman played by Mia Farrow and her husband played by John Cassavetes move into this strange Manhattan apartment surrounded by very odd neighbors, most brilliantly played by Ruth Gordon, who won an Academy Award for that. Did you know
Sure. No, I didn't know that.
that? In '68. So it's
great.
It's wonderfully disorienting. It's creepy as fuck. It's a little bit dated in kind of a great way.
Sure.
And the whole thing is backed by this la la la, la that just is super, super creepy. I give it a watch if you like a good creepy film that isn't about pop scares. It's
Right.
really a psychological drama. But I was really mad about that being something that I did not have access to.
Right.
Even though I probably couldn't have handled it.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's like heroin. I wanted it, but no, honey, you can't handle this. That's for mama. And side note, it is cited as one of the contributing factors in the atmosphere that created the Satanic Panic,
Right.
which we talked about in episode 21. So it's
Yeah.
important. It's an important movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, what you got?
My next one has a really special place in my heart now. But I'm going to tell you the story of my experience of this.
Awesome. Yep.
I'm a teenager.
Yep.
I'm a Mormon believer still.
Yep.
But I'm hanging out with a bunch of theater kids. We're all, rebellious. We're
Okay, you can say gay.
we're all gay,
Yeah.
as in May Day, and I don't want to be uncool, but also like I'm trying to hold on to this whole Mormonism thing.
Yeah.
I was walking a line.
That's a hard needle to thread.
I was really, really walking a line, and it was hard for me, and I failed in many things, including I loved to touch people's boobs with permission.
Right.
I will point out.
Okay, good.
But so there I am. I'm getting ready. We're all having fun, and then somebody says that they want to go see this movie, and I look at the poster, and on this movie poster is a man in ladies' lingerie. And I was terrified.
Yes.
I'm going to go. Okay, we're going to watch it.
How old were you?
I was in my teens,
Yeah.
14, 15, no, probably 16. We were driving by that point.
I know what you're talking about because this and I know what a monumental, frightening thing for a young, trying to be cool Mormon in Salt Lake City this experience would have been.
It was horrifying.
Right.
I was scared, literally, genuinely, probably more scared than Alien, because it's transgressive on purpose. It is
Right.
It is pushing all of those transgressive.
An alien is
buttons.
just a monster. An alien is just a monster.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is it mentions Satan, and it's sex, and it's gay sex, and it's trans people,
It's
and it's
unlabelable thing. You don't even know what this
don't
is.
know what's happening.
Yes.
But I know I'm supposed to think it's wrong.
And-
but I'm titillated, and there's like boob grabbing.
And it's audience participation, which is even scarier for a Mormon.
I don't know what the fuck is happening. Yeah.
Right.
So Rocky Horror Picture Show
Yeah.
was what I didn't know what to do with it. All my friends loved it. I pretended to love it, but I actually kind of loved parts of it, and I was titillated by it. This all comes full circle for me. I might as
Yes.
well say this.
Yeah.
I am this October, and if anybody's in the Utah area, will be playing Dr. Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Show at the Grand Theater here in Salt Lake City this October.
From such humble beginnings.
I'm going to be like, finally, it feels like an expulsion of the demons. It feels like I'm going to be exercising the final demons of my own sexual repression.
Wow.
By doing this.
In front of a live audience.
Hell yeah. I'm going to be that guy, that scary guy in the ladies' lingerie
Isn't that funny?
in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Being all sexy and just owning my own
I would
sex.
bet there is a similar story. A lot of people share that story,
Yeah.
particularly because that was I've never seen it in the theater.
What?
I couldn't handle it. Well, and I'm gonna my last movie. I'm gonna kind of talk about why that would be, but I never saw it in the theater.
But you've seen it.
Oh yeah,
And it's a silly, stupid movie. It's fun and it's delightful, but it took me a while to get to that point, to come around
Right.
to the place where I could see it as, even long after I had like kicked religion to the curb, first kicked Mormonism and then kicked religion, I still had these notions about
right.
transgression and
Right.
what is okay and
Well,
what
I
is,
think
what is safe sexuality, and like this thing stomped gleefully all over those things.
Right. I think that is something that is really frightening when people are deciding to engage with culture this way after it's been forbidden from them for so long. Is you're watching a thing is not an endorsement of the thing.
No,
You're watching a thing doesn't mean that's what you believe now.
right,
Right.
But
you can-
also you can just fucking enjoy it.
right. It doesn't matter if it's, film can be both art and it can be Will Ferrell.
Yeah,
And that's great.
and it can be both at the same time. Sometimes
Can be both at the same time, and having fun on your terms is nobody's business. Is nobody else's business.
Right.
Enjoy Adam Sandler if that's what you want to do.
yeah.
Yes.
You know what? Like bad movies. That's a thing you
I
can
love
do.
bad movies. Do you know what? This is not on my list. One of my favorite guilty watches is
What's that?
Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
It's so shit.
It's so bad.
It's so
Oh, I
mullet.
love it.
It's just mullets and terrible stunts.
We'll get to you. Just so you know, my next movie is one of my favorite good bad movies of all time.
Okay.
What's your next one?
So I'm going to go again with something that is transgressive, but I think this is an incredible movie.
Yeah.
It's a little bit dated, but who gives a shit? It is 1976's The Omen.
Ooh.
Yeah. Directed by Richard Donner and written by David Seltzer, whom I know.
Ah.
And
Dropping names.
quick aside, he wrote that movie. He was a screenwriter, still is. Wrote that movie because he had too much debt. He borrowed money from some producer. I can't remember which producer. To pay off his muscle cars because he's a crazy person. And he couldn't pay the guy back. And the guy said, I'm going to break your legs or you have to give me the money. And he's like, well, I don't have the money. He's like, what else can I do? He said, well, write me a script. And he said, well, what do you want? And he's like, well, The Exorcist is a big hit right now.
Write that.
And everybody loves this devil stuff. And David is a agnostic Jew. And he's like, I don't fucking know any of this stuff. So he's like, then I opened the Book of Revelations.
And bada boom.
And it wrote itself. So yeah, that's where The Omen came out of. It's super creepy.
It's about a kid.
It's about a kid. It's about an American diplomat in Rome who ends up doing a thing he shouldn't have done and kind of semi-adopting a child because his baby just was in childbirth. His wife doesn't know it. He has a little swapperoo with a.
It's very screwed.
Yeah.
That's just never the right choice.
Not cool, man. Especially when you find out that baby is the Antichrist.
right.
And so it's really fascinating and a no lesser talent than Gregory Peck wrestling with this realization.
Right.
Is super spooky and super creepy. And again, this is another one that I saw probably when I was 21, still scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
So if you like a good scary devil movie that also contributed to the Satanic Panic, you could do far worse than The Omen.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to take us. I'll take us home.
Yeah.
With a movie that that came out in the 90s, in the early-ish, mid-90s. I had early to mid-90s. I'm not exactly sure when, but I remember it caused a stir. Now, I'm cheating here. Mm-hmm. This is not a rated R movie.
Okay.
This
I'll bet
is an NC-17
it's
movie.
Madonna, isn't it?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. This one is Showgirls. Let me tell you something.
Oh, my God.
I remember vividly the poster coming out, and the poster has Elizabeth Berkley. You see her head, and then you see across, like it's almost like she's wearing a robe or something. You
Yeah.
see it's blacked out, so you don't see the boobs, but you see her torso go sort of down from her neck,
Yeah.
all the way to a leg. You
Kind
don't,
of a dagger of flesh.
that goes all the way down, as though her leg came directly out of her neck at some weird angles.
Well, sometimes in the movie it looks like it does because
She's
wow, is it a bad movie?
it's such a bad movie.
Yeah.
I did not see it at the time.
Right.
Because at the time, again, I was still, I think I was still barely wrestling with, or just wasn't going to fuck around with it.
Yeah.
Now it's one of my favorite movies. Not because it's good, but because it's so bad.
Yeah.
Like, this was a film that was written by Joe Esterhaus. It was directed by Paul Verhoeven. Oh my God. Both of whom at the time were being taken very seriously as dark masters of the suspense thriller or like
Sexual.
yeah, exactly.
Pot boiler.
Basic Instinct had just come out, and they'd just shown everybody Sharon Stone's hoo-ha.
Yeah.
And now they were going to one-up themselves by showing all of the ladies, all of the naked, all of the time. And it was going to be this big expose of the sex scene in Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
It turns out to be the biggest turd that has ever been put on
It
celluloid.
is such a self-indulgent turkey.
It is... And these guys thought that they were making their magnum opus.
Well, here's why they thought that. And if I could describe an entire kind of methodology and ethos in one word, it would be cocaine. Right?
Oh my God. To have been a fly on the wall during their production meetings when they were congratulating themselves and just jerking each other off with
Piles
joy.
of blow on the glass table.
Just so they, oh my God, no, we are going to blow their minds.
You
with
are
this.
so tired of boobs by the end of this movie.
Let me tell you something. There's so much nudity in this. There is not a single sexy moment in this entire film.
No.
It is joyless nudity. They try to make sexy moments.
It's like people changing a tire naked. Like it's diminishing returns at some point. Right?
It is so not. It's so not sexy.
Yeah.
That like it's baffling. Everything about this movie is made badly. The Foley work.
Oh yeah.
Is bad.
It's so overlit. The photography is horrendous.
It's the
hair.
acting. The acting.
The
let me,
hair.
Let me tell you something. Elizabeth Berkley.
Yeah.
This is a woman who was in a popular TV show called Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. This was going to be her big transition from being a teenager on the television to being an adult in the cinema. And after this movie, her agent dropped her, and no other agent would take her call.
Wow.
It was her acting, and it's probably not entirely her fault. Like the direction must have been just horrendous.
Yeah.
She just has, it's convulsive. Everything about her performance is just seizure after seizure after seizure of acting.
But here's the thing. It's a ball to watch.
Oh my God, it's so much fun.
Uncle Dan and our clan got together and watched it for fun one night, and that's the other thing. Bad movies are wonderful.
Yeah.
Crap movies are wonderful. So, and again, that's something that maybe we were denied in our culture, and so that leads me to my third movie, which is interesting because of the sexual nature of the thing. And this is 1991's Paris is Burning. Now, this is a documentary directed by Jenny Livingston. That's an incredible window into a subculture of a subculture, which was the
Amish.
yeah, well, probably I would say the most diametrically opposite group than the Amish. So it was the gay, black, Latino, and trans underground ball culture of New York in the 1980s.
Right.
And I didn't see this not because it was rated R, but because I was so in the closet when this came out in 1991. Even though I was living in LA and working in the film business, I was so scared of exposing myself because of the shame I was taught, the self-hatred I was taught. I was so scared of exposing myself to something that was transgressive or challenging because, again, I didn't understand the difference between viewing and endorsing or viewing and believing.
But also, there was probably, like, if I read this situation correctly, and if your Mormonism was anything like my Mormonism, just watching a film with three queer people on it at one time, you probably thought you'd just be ejected from the closet magically.
I thought I would be pulled out of the crowd.
Like everybody in, like, even if no one saw you in the theater, suddenly the whole world would just know that you were gay.
They would know. I was so terrified. Like, you were struggling with being a cool Mormon in the theater club.
Right.
My struggle was real too, boo. My closet was such a mess. If I had exposed myself to queer black people having fun,
Right.
that could have been the end of it for me. So,
Yeah, you almost could have enjoyed yourself as a homosexual man, as a gay man. You almost could have
well,
you almost might. You were in danger of having fun.
but that goes back to the Rocky Horror thing. I was
Yeah.
terrified of going to the Rocky Horror Picture Show because, yes, it was so transgressive. I didn't understand what it was.
Right.
And the audience participation thing made me feel like I would be somehow exposed.
Yeah.
Right. So I did. Those are things I did to myself, but I was trained to do those things to myself.
Exactly.
So if you haven't seen that movie, it's beautiful and fantastic and amazing and tragic and incredible. But that's another film, if not especially documentary film, is just a window into somebody else's experience.
Right.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And yes, it would probably be challenging for a young Christian to watch that.
Here's the
But
other thing.
it's beautiful.
There's this worry that if you watch something, it might change you.
Yeah.
It might convince you of something. It might turn you a certain way.
And that's a good thing.
Be changed.
Yeah.
Be convinced.
That's the point of culture. That's
Let
the point
it do
of art.
that.
Right.
Go out there and find some way to be a different you.
Right. Or expand just a little bit. Or
Right.
expand a little bit, then contract.
Yeah, don't open your mind so far your brain falls out. But see what it does to you. Maybe you'll find out you really like the showgirls world and you want to become a showgirl yourself. Who knows? You won't, by the way. But that's the whole point of art is
Challenge.
to say something
Yeah.
to your humanity.
Yeah.
And that something might be weird and you might reject it or you might love it, but you can't know who you are if you don't challenge yourself.
Right. It's okay. And there's nothing safer than a movie theater or Netflix because the window's not looking back at you.
Yeah.
You can look through that window and see another world and see another way of living and another way of thinking, and then it's just over.
Yeah.
And you're safe.
And you don't you don't have to go down that road on your own or there's a new road that's opened up to you and you can see where it leads.
Well, I think this has been a really fun conversation. I wonder if we ought to put a page on our website about our favorite movies and just let people talk about that or contribute to it. And
Sure.
I think it's I'm very evangelical about movies because I work in them.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of saved my young life, the ones I was able to see, and I saw that window of color, and I saw that in my very, very colorless life.
Yeah.
I saw something beautiful or something amazing, and it was a stepping stone between all the vanilla, right?
Yep.
To get to another place. So
Yep.
I'm a big believer. Go out and watch a movie. Call us up. Leave us send us an email and tell us what your scary R-rated challenges were, and maybe we'll talk about them another time.
Yeah. All right.
Let's
Move on.